What's good, squad? It's the big homie, SB23, back at you with some more words of wisdom. Today we're going to talk about how to shift timelines. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. SB23 on YouTube, Chosen123 on YouTube. You'll get these gems on both channels. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for stopping by, hanging out with me, soaking up the knowledge, spreading it to whoever might need it. I'm hoping you're having a good day. I'm sending the love out your way. So, how to shift timelines. And what do I mean by that? Shifting timelines. Time is a tool used in order for us to keep track of things in our life. It doesn't necessarily have any real relevance or use outside of just keeping track of something. You can dive deep into time and we can debate whether it's really reality or if it's an illusion or whatever else you might want to put on it. But at the end of the day, it is a part of our life. You know, we have watches and clocks and stuff like that, and it's put there in order for there to be some sort of structure within our life. So without diving too deep into time and whether it's real or not, let's just go off the sense of time is real. And since it is a reality within our existence, you know, everybody works with time. Like even this video that I'm shooting right now, it's on a timer. So time is real in the essence that it is a part of our life. But so with that concept, then if time is real within our life and we all exist within this reality that is structured around time, then technically we all are time travelers. So you know, when we think about time traveling, we think of the movies where there's like this machine that some scientist builds, and you know, you get in the machine and then it takes you back into time and into the past, or it takes you into the future. But I think what we don't realize is that we all are time travelers. Excuse me, y'all. I just came out the gym. I was on a treadmill running crazy. I'm sweating. Drinking a whole bunch of Powerade or whatever it was, Body Armor. But we all are time travelers because we all have went from one time and traveled through that existence to this time. So I was born in 1986, which would be the 20th century. So from that time until the time that we're in now, which is the 21st century, I traveled through that time. So that would make me a time traveler. You know what I'm saying? And that's one way of looking at it. Like each year, you know, you keep track of your age, and you know, they say you get older or whatever the case may be. So you can look at it in that way. You're a time traveler in that essence, that you've went from one time to another time. You went from one century and traversed into the beginning of the next century. You also do not need a machine to travel time. Every time you think about your past, you're using your mind to travel back into time to where you were at a certain point in your past and at that time. So technically, every time you think about the past, you have traveled from your present time into a previous reality that you had, which makes you a time traveler. Every time you think about your future and you envision yourself somewhere in your future, you are traveling through time. You're taking yourself from out the present moment and using your mind to think about what your existence, what you would like it to be, or what it could be in the future. Therefore, you are time traveling. So you don't need a machine to travel through time. You do that effortlessly with this machine that you have in your head and within your body, your brain. So when you think about that, it makes sense, right? We all are time travelers. We just don't recognize that that's what we're doing within the moment. But think about it. Think about what I'm saying. Every time you think about the past, you're taking yourself from out the present moment that you're at and you're traveling through time back into a previous existence of your life. So, and you can, and it's so vivid, you can even feel, smell, remember the things that were within that moment that you're thinking about. You could remember it. You could vividly remember maybe what you were wearing, whoever it was that you were around with wearing, what you were doing, the food that you ate, how it tasted. You know what I'm saying? So you're taking yourself from the present moment to the past, and you're traveling through time. So again, with that, you are a time traveler. And with that, you're shifting timelines. But with that understanding, then if you go deeper, then if you want to go deeper, and I'm always a person who likes to dive deep into things and try to understand it. I was thinking about this concept that you ever watch the movies, like a lot of the movies now that are coming out are about the multiverse, like the Spider-Man movie, the Miles Morales version that came out with the multiverse, the Avengers movies, you know, all the verses came together, from the Guardians of the Galaxy to the Avengers to, you know, whatever else, you know, Iron Man, Hulk, all of those verses came together and created this multiverse. And a multiverse is nothing more than all of the possible verses coming together at one time. And if you understand how powerful your brain is and how things work in this verse, then there is an infinite amount of possibilities of how you can live your life, depending on what you believe you can achieve. So, excuse me, y'all. You can depend, and it all depends on what decisions you make within your life. And there's a version of you outside of the version that you see yourself in now on an everyday basis. There's a version of you that's living simultaneously at the same time, but you just don't see it because there isn't just this dimension. There's different dimensions or different verses within this world we live in. If you think that this is the only verse that is existing right now, then you have to dive deeper into your knowledge, because there's an infinite. That's why when we were younger, they used to tell us that you can be anything you want to be, and that's true, because all it takes is for you to make a decision. And once you make a decision, then you can shift your timeline. So let's say if you're heading down one path, and we've all done this, think about it. Like, let's say if you're heading down one path and you say you want to be, let's say if you remember when we were in school and they used to ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you would say, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. You know, those typical answers that we would give as kids if we didn't have any idea, fireman, policeman, whatever it was that you said, artist. If you stick within that mind frame, you can take the steps in order to be a artist or, you know, a lawyer or whatever it is that you might have said when you were a kid. But let's say you have a change of heart and you decide that you no longer want to do that and you want to move into a different field. From the point that you made that decision that you wanted to take a different route, you have shifted your timeline. Now, this version of you that is a lawyer still exists, but not in your physical timeline anymore, because you've taken a different path. You veered off and said, I know, instead of doing this, I'm not going to continue to go down that path. I'm going to go this way and go do this thing, whatever it is over here. Maybe you want to be a cook or something. So you shift from the timeline of being a lawyer or a doctor or, you know, whatever it was that you wanted to be, and then you stopped doing the things that would lead you down this timeline, and you shifted your perspective over here to, I want to be a cook or a chef, and now you started to move down this timeline. But that doesn't mean that this timeline doesn't exist, because had you still kept going, then that timeline would have kept going and you would have went down that timeline in order for you to get to the point that you want to get to. So there's an infinite amount of possibilities of that you can take within your life. There's a version of you that is a drunk, somebody on the street who's homeless. There's a version of you who's a doctor. There's a version of you who's an artist. There's a version of you who's a parent that just works a regular job and wants your whole goal is wanting to be there for your kids. There's a version of you who is a philanthropist or somebody who goes around helping people. There's a version of you who is a teacher. There's a version of you who is whatever you can think of in your mind. There's a version of you that exists, and all you have to do in order to get to that version or get to that timeline is tap into that energy that is being held within that. Again, if you go and look at a lot of these shows nowadays, it's straight up telling you that there's an infinite version of things that you can be. Again, I'll take it back to the Spider-Man, the Miles Morales movie. When they did Spider-Man Into the Multiverse, I was watching it with my kids, and it dawned on me, like, yo, there's an infinite version of yous out there that you can tap into, depending on what route you take. And if you think about it, when Miles came into the whatever happened to where it split the verse he was in open, and then all of these different versions of himself came in, and you've seen a multitude of Spider-Mans from all these different versions and all these different timelines. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there is an infinite array of yous existing simultaneously, and depending on what path you decide to take and what choices you want to make will determine which path or which timeline you're going to tap into. So again, it all has to do with whatever you decide. And that's why I say you create your reality at the end of the day. It's whatever energy that you're carrying. That's going to determine what your timeline is going to be in this physical world that you live in right now. So if you want to shift your timeline, again, let's say if you were, let's say, right now in your life, if you want to, let's say you're going down a path, and let's say you're not happy with where you're at right now. If you want to shift that timeline and move into a different path, all it takes is for you to start doing things differently. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, then you're going to be stuck in that same timeline. But if you want to shift timelines and line yourself up with a different version of yourself, then all you have to do is start doing things within your life differently. So if you want a healthier version of yourself, you can attain that by doing things differently. Maybe lay off of how much you're eating, or be more disciplined on the things that you're eating, or incorporate, you don't have to necessarily take something completely out, but maybe you need to dial something back and add something to it. You know what I'm saying? Something healthy to your regimen. If you want to be healthier, you can also add exercise, and it doesn't matter what type of exercise you add. It could be anything, as long as it's something physical that's getting you up and getting your blood pumping and making a difference in your health. Then that within itself will shift you, because once when you strengthen your body, it's only right that you strengthen your mind too, because it takes mental fortitude in order to be disciplined enough to get up and consistently work on your body every day, or however many times a week that you do it, because you do need rest too. So what you ingest as far as the things that you watch and the things that you listen to, the music and stuff like that, changing that can change your perspective or shift you from a different from a timeline that you're at into a different one. And again, for me, I can say, like, when I was younger, I was doing a lot of things that weren't beneficial to my growth, and at a certain point, you get tired of that. At least you should. At a certain point, once you start to get older and realize what really matters in life, you get tired of doing those things that keep you in a pattern of repetition, but not in a good way. It's not, repetition isn't wrong if it's healthy repetition, but if it's repetition that is detrimental to your life and to people around you, that's when you have to shift something within yourself. Think about the people who again, when they're younger, they're going through a lot of things, turmoil and hardships. Maybe something happened in their life when they were young. They lost a parent, or a parent wasn't present within their lives, so they had anger. Again, for me, like I said, when my father wasn't in my life the way I wanted him to be, so it created a lot of anger and turmoil within me because I had a lot of questions about myself. What did I do? Was it me? What all that typical stuff that you would think when you're a child and you don't know why your dad's not reaching out, or why your parent isn't reaching out, or whatever the case may be, and you just want to figure it out for yourself, but you don't have the answers. And so you're doing things and kind of lashing out from the pain that's coming from within you. And you might find yourself in situations like going to jail, or dabbling into drugs, drinking, chasing women, chasing relationships, whatever it may be. And you go through that stuff. Let's say if you end up repeatedly going back to jail, at some point, depending on where you're at eternally, or if you have the right people around you, you might get some guidance as to what you need to do in order to stop repeating that pattern, because it starts to be a detriment not only to you but to the people around you. Because you're the one going through those situations to where you might have been in and out of jail, or in and out of trouble, or whatever the case may be. But when you're doing that, it affects the people who really care about you too, because they're watching you go through these things and they don't want to see you in pain. But seeing you in pain puts them in pain because they love you so much. And again, fortunately for me, I had enough guidance in my life to not repeat certain patterns. But again, I've been arrested. I've been arrested and been to jail. And I've had my dark times in life to where I was doing stuff I knew I shouldn't have been doing. But you're doing it because of the pain. But what did it take to shift that timeline? Because think about it. Had I continued on that timeline, I would have ended up either dead or permanently in jail. Which really, you might as well say you're dead anyways, because once you're in jail, you're not living. You're stuck in this prison. So that's not living. So either way, you would have been dead. I either would have been physically dead, or I would have been dead internally, because I can't actually live. And for me, that really would have killed my spirit, because I'm a free spirit at heart. So I don't like to be confined by anything, really. So being confined like that would have definitely destroyed my spirit. And that's why it didn't take me many times to have been arrested in order for me to figure out that wasn't a life for me. You know what I'm saying? Once I was in there behind them bars, in that cold cell, you surrounded by nothing but men. They don't give you nothing. They give you the least of the least, and the food is garbage. They take it. You don't even get. You don't even got no belt. You don't got no shoelaces. You don't got nothing. You in there with nothing. And again, you just around men. It's like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's not the life for me. I love women too much, and I love my freedom too much to just have been stuck in that type of situation. But that's what I'm saying. Once I realized that, I had to shift something, that the things that I was doing, I had to shift them in order to not find myself in that position again. So I had to shift my timeline, because had I been going down that same timeline, I would have ended up like that. So, and then again, there's a version of me that continued down that timeline, in that world is living behind bars, but this version of me is not. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you recognize within your life that you're not happy, and that you're not satisfied, you're not feeling fulfilled, it feels like something's missing, or whatever the case may be. It feels like you want to do some things, and there's some things that you want to do that you haven't done that's nagging at you. The best way to shift into that timeline of what you want to do is simply by taking the steps in order to get to wherever you need to get to. And again, how do you do that? By so just distracting, by shifting your perspective and switching your energy into a more positive mind frame and shifting your energy into a different timeline. So again, for me, I decided to, do the things that I want to do, which is live a life of happiness, joy, peace more than anything, because you don't want to chase happiness, because anytime you chase something, it runs away from you. So really what you're looking for is peace. And what is peace? Peace is really balance. So it's finding that balance between the sadness and the joy, and being able to, like I said in my last video, being able to ride the waves of emotions and navigate that in a way to where it's not super highs and super lows. You want to have a good balance within that, so you're riding the waves and you're navigating because you have the experience from the different timelines that you live. Because I also feel like we live multiple lives within our one existence. I don't think that this is just one life. I feel like if you're really working on yourself and you're really doing the things that you need to do, you have to kill old versions of yourself. So again, I'm not who I was when I was 7 years old is not who I was when I was 15. Is not who I was when I was 22. It's not who I was when I was 30. It's not who I am now at 39. You know what I'm saying? These are all different versions of myself that existed simultaneously within this one timeline that I'm living, that I'm presently living, but also understanding that those are different versions. So yeah, you in order to shift the timeline, you have to kill off an old version of yourself and start doing different things. So for me now, like I said, my whole thing now is growth and positivity as much as I could be positive, spreading love to people who want to absorb the love and knowledge, and who feel like they also want to move into their greatest timeline, and just taking that action in order to find that peace. You know what I'm saying? Find that peace within yourself. And oftentimes that takes isolation. Oftentimes you need to cut off certain energies that are around you that are weighing you down also, because some people are not going to want to see you grow. Some people are going to want to see you, they want to keep you in that same timeline with them wherever they're at. And if you're trying to grow, you can't exist within that anymore, because it's going to kill you on the inside. So instead of letting your spirit and your energy be drained by outside forces, you have to rise above it and say, okay, at this point in my life, I need to take time to myself, bring all your energy back into yourself, and focus on the things that you need to do within yourself in order to remove yourself from this old timeline with those old patterns into a new timeline with new patterns, so that you can live your best life. So that's my message for today, y'all. You're a time traveler. At the end of the day, you got the power to travel through any dimension you want to, as long as with the knowing that you can do so, with the knowing that this up here is more powerful than what you're given credit for. And again, think about it. Think about what I'm saying, y'all. Every time that you think about something in your past, you're traveling through time. And every time you think about something in the future, you're traveling through time. But what you really want to do is not focus on either one of those too much. We're all human, so we're all going to have thoughts of the past, and we're all going to think about future things. But oftentimes when you think about stuff in the past, it comes with depression, if it's not something positive. And when you're thinking about things in the future, oftentimes it could come with anxiety if it's not something positive. So you got to be careful with that. You really want to stay within your present and focus on the things that you're doing on the present. Being present within your everyday life is what's going to bring you the most satisfaction, because now you're actually living. You're not worrying too much about your past and what happened then, because you know that you can't change that, and you're not worrying too much about your future and what's happening, because you know at the end of the day you can dictate what it's going to be if you just focus on what you're doing right now. So just some words of wisdom from the big homie, y'all. I'ma holla.